Hi everyone, today we'll be installing the 6.7 Ford Powerstroke Disaster Prevention Kit from AccurateDiesel.com, also known as the CP4 Bypass Kit. Alright, before we get started, I'm going to go over some of the tools you'll need to get this done. Just got a couple of them laid out here. First things first, you'll need a torque wrench, probably an inch-pound, a nice tube cutter. You'll need that to cut your supply line, the hard supply line. A deburring tool here. I'll show you guys how to use that when we get to that. Flashlight's always good. Work light, something you can see down in. The bay width down the valley gets a little dark sometimes. Extensions, ratchets, 3/8, 1/4 inch drive ratchet, 8 and 10 millimeter sockets, and shallow will come in handy as well, deep and shallow, and then some universals if you got them. Those are really helpful for those intake bolts. T25 Torx screwdriver. It's a little tight clearance. You'll need an actual handle like this to get down. It's right next to the coolant crossover, so this is what you'll need to get down into there with. It's little small screwdrivers. Those will come in handy. Prying stuff, wiggling stuff out. You need an Allen wrench for the bolts going back together, and some zip ties. Okay, so you'll take 15 bolts out for the upper intake, 4, 8, and the remaining up front here. And you'll need to take a Christmas tree out of here, out of this side, in order to get it off, along with your map sensor. You'll unplug there. Take the lower intake out now. You'll have 1, 2, 3 long bolts holding the cast down. Alright, so you'll have a connector over here for the butterfly valve. You'll probably have something connected here. Your crankcase vent, connector and tube, and 3 bolts. There's 2 here and 1 there. Alright, once you get down in here, you'll see the regulator, the fuel pump, and the lines that they're talking about. At this point, we'll take the pressure regulator and the hard supply line off the high pressure pump. We'll start with the 2 C-clips on top of the supply line and return line. Next, you'll take the 10 millimeter flange bolt off of the T-bar, and the T-bar assembly will come off. 2 screws on either side of the pressure regulator will come out, T25 Torx bits. At this point, you'll have exposed the top of your high pressure fuel pump. You want to be very careful not to introduce any debris into the system. Install the adapter block on the top of the fuel pump as shown, and reinstall the pressure regulator with the supplied socket head cap screws. Be sure to lube the supplied O-rings with a little bit of synthetic grease. Use caution not to cut any on installation. Alright, next, you can get these clips off. It's kind of tough to get off. Get underneath in here, in between, pop those off. There's one there, there's 1 clip there. So you cut your supply tube right here, inch away from your green connector for 14 trucks, and an inch away from the black connector for 15s. Alright, so I'll show you guys deburring this tube here. It's actually the scrap piece that I was done with, but I figured I'd show you guys how to do it on this one anyway. After you get cut off, you'll still feel some sharp stuff on the edge here, and then also there's some burrs down in there that you don't want going through the fuel pump or the fuel system at all. So these little tools are pretty handy. I snagged this one at a car parts store. Comes with extra blades in it too. So just run this around the inside diameter. Go around the outside a little bit. Make sure it's nice and clean. No sharp edges. No extra filings are like that. Nice and smooth there. And then afterwards, you'll see some of the filings you put down in there. Take some brake cleaning or some carb cleaner, something that evaporates quick. Spray it out, and then take an air hose and blow it out. make sure you get it absolutely clean. It's imperative that none of that goes through the fuel system, the fuel pump. Put our supply tube back on. We're going to add the hose to that, stainless braided hose to that, down to the block. Our bolt replaced, and our 2 metering fasteners in. Put our line on, snug it up. It's an O-ring fit, O-ring Bosch, so it doesn't need to be real tight. Runs up to our supply line here. Fit back in place, the compression fitting. Alright, got the intake back on, back together. You can see our line goes down through there. You want it to not touch anything going down to the valley there. Keep it away from all your lines and stuff, it'll rub a hole in them. So go ahead and tighten your compression fitting up, and now we'll be putting our top plastic intake on. If you got your intakes on and your line here, be sure to leave this loose first time you're putting it in, because your connectors, if you put it in the wrong spot like I did, connectors won't line up to the fuel filter. Alright, so we got our fuel filter back in and our line's hooked up. The only thing not too sure about, not liking about this is this line, our stainless steel braided line, is hitting the charge pipe here. It actually rotates the whole pipe this way, which kind of made it a little difficult to get the fuel filter back in. Alright, we're all finished up here. I did put a piece of rubber down here between my charge pipe and that fuel supply line. It is pretty tight. We had to take a screwdriver in between here to get enough room to get that rubber in there, so definitely needed. So I finally have a little bit of clearance between my supply line and my charge pipe there. I had that other clip on there, and you can see I got wiggle room now on here, which is good. And my charge pipe was crowding my connectors over here, my fuel rail pressure and temperature. What I did, I took this back clip off. There's two on the supply and return lines. There's one right there, you can see it's still on, and the other one that actually goes back in on there, and it mounts to that stud you can see next to that plastic connector. It was holding the supply line up against the charge pipe and wouldn't let it rest back down. It was putting a lot of pressure on it, so I just took that off. They seem pretty solid here. They're not going to go anywhere. I zip tied it to the return line just to make sure, and we should be all good. But just another tidbit: if you run into the fitment issue with the charge pipe like I did, go ahead and pull that one out. Just a suggestion. I'll give you a little bit more wiggle room then. Overall, fairly easy. Just about anyone could probably do it. If you have any questions or anything like that, comment below. I'm trying to answer them for you. Thanks, guys.